Hey babes, how you doing? How are you doing? This week, started Monday, November 17th, and we still riding through it. Wanted to drop in here and give you a check-in from Planet Dust. Also, welcome. Planet Dust is your home. It's your home, regardless of time, place, or space. Your being is fully and wholly appreciated here. But I don't know about that new moon. Happened on November 19th, late at night. I'm on the Pacific coast. I'm in California, so for me it was like 10:47 or something on Wednesday, November 19th. But for a lot of y'all, it was the following day, November 20th, in the wee bits of the morning. 28 degrees, Scorpio. Kind of like a jerk. Can we do that? Can we call like certain degrees of a house a jerk? Because we're almost towards Sagittarius. In fact, the sun entered Sagittarius on Friday, today. So right after that wallop of a new moon in Scorpio, we enter Sag season. Friendly reminder, this guidance is just a mashup of astrological, psychological, and social stuffs. The new moon in Scorpio is a lot of things. But what I think it is a magnifying glass for a lot of stuff happening in the background. We still got this whole Uranus situation. Okay, Uranus is back in Taurus. It retrograded back into Taurus, which is a sign of earthiness, stability, luxury, material ting-tings, and body ting-tings, right? And Mercury was in Sagittarius, retroed back into Scorpio. So from wanting to be with this adventurous and exploratory and relational energy, back into the depths of the shit that we don't want to talk about, back into my secrets, back into the energetics and the potential alchemy that I hold, you hold, we all hold inside. There is bunch of stuff retrograding, and that's why Uranus went from Gemini back into Taurus. Jupiter in Cancer retrograde, and this is the opportunity to step back and I ain't gonna say reflect. Let's say reassess and course correct. Because let's start with Taurus. There are a whole lot of other things happening as well. Talk about the Saturn, Neptune, quasi conjunction, this whole in Pisces. There's some asteroids doing their thing, but let's focus on Taurus, because financial and body autonomy, for me, is what a well worked with Taurian energy feels like. Wow, that's a mouthful. So look, got your cash or your resources, and how do you feel about this meat suit? I am thoroughly disgusted by the way that the United States government is acting now. And I feel like there is no better in real life, did that really happen? Is that really happening, Sitch? Than the tearing down of the White House. It's hard to get by. It's hard for the citizens of the United States, most citizens of the United States, most people in the United States, I don't care if you're a citizen or not, right? It's hard to live here, okay? So we're already tweaking our Taurus strings. And then that knucklehead in the White House, or whoever the powers that be, because we all know he's also just a puppet, right? They tearing down the White House. That building is old. They ain't got the permits. They ain't doing it the way that we all agreed in terms of government and rules and laws. They ain't doing it the way that we agreed it should be done. And look, I grew up in construction in New Jersey. I know that White House is full of asbestos. It's full of ick from old building materials that we've since learned aren't so great to use. Where are the permits? Where's the EPA? Where are the ways in which you're doing this in a sustainable, agreed upon way? There's not. They aren't there. This administration is just bowling over, doing whatever they want. And frankly, I think it's all orchestrated. Because if you know narcs, you know they're going to make the attention spotlight on them. As in, sucks to be you, Americans. You can't afford to eat. But look what we're doing. We're renovating our big old house in that gaudy ass bathroom. Okay, well, look. In this Scorpio new moon energetic portal, against the backdrop of a lot of retrograde reassessment, realignment, we're breaking down the structures. The powers that be are forcing their powers out upon us, but we still have some bad tracks. The foundation upon which the White House was built, literally, metaphorically, because this country is built on slavery and abuses of power, they're still there. They're all still there. It could be 1776, 1942, 2025. The mechanisms are still in place. We have to realize and really internalize the fact that when we are grounded in our body and grounded in our sense of self that is nourishing and rejuvenative and can handle some of these cataclysmic emotional outbursts, that includes bursts of anger and rage, we know that we can only work within our sphere of reference and restoration. And by that, I mean, does it do me any good to be mad at a lot of the things that are happening? Yes and no. I can't really do much on a larger scale, but on a more immediate scale, sure. Can go to protests, I can voice my opinion, cannot shut up when people are like, you're making a big deal out of it, because this is a big deal. This is our social contract being completely stinking eroded. But you know what? The social contract is rooted in power imbalances anyway. So I'm vibing some work around my relationship to Uranus and Taurus. But have you also considered, I'm considering Uranus and Aries prior. So Uranus went into Taurus in May 2018. We'll finally get the heck out of Dodge for real in 2026. Uranus entered Gemini, but due to retrograde and the motion of the planet's orbit, we'll dip back into Taurus and then back into Gemini in 2026. But for these 8 years, the consideration of cash and body has been paramount. You can also relate some of this reflection to Saturn in Pisces, because boundaries are hard to keep here, but intuitively led boundaries and reflections will give you the discernment you need to know when to hold them and when to fold them. Doesn't mean that you shouldn't have the consideration of, oh, how do I feel about this, or what do I think about this? No. It just means that you can move with the accumulated growth, the accumulated inner wealth, and the accumulated strength that you know you have to act within your own sphere of reference, so that you don't give your power away to something much larger than you, so that you really hyper focus on what you can touch, what you can feel, what brings you that value exchange. And then there's this whole Jupiter retrograding Cancer to add to the layer. Energetics, right? It's a vibe. It's like a big perfume, all these different notes. Because for me, Jupiter in Cancer is about extending or expanding your version of home. Cancer is ruled by the moon. This Scorpio new moon is bringing up potentially some uncomfortable experiences at home. And why do we go out of the home into the world if not to explore and expand, or maybe just fill in those gaps that we didn't get filled at home? Okay. If someone is held and loved and nurtured at home, they want to stay at home. They want to stay near to that ecosystem of family, of the place that I grow in, that I return to. And I see a lot of these politicians, I can tell you their homes aren't restorative and rejuvenative, because a lot of what they're acting out on the public sphere is actually related to inadequacies, lack, and no fulfillment on the inner or home level. What's the mantra here at Planet Dust? You are home. You are home. Wherever you are home. I mean, you can come to Planet Dust headquarters and physically be home, but like, this is home too. This emotional exchange here, this conversational exchange here. I know it's one way, it's a video, but like, look, type a comment, send me an email. Let's make it a conversation. This too is home. And I'm gonna jump back to Uranus, that firebrand of a planet. I mentioned the dabble in Gemini, whole situation in Taurus, but prior to 2018, Uranus was in Aries. Aries is the sign of bold, courage, fire, that impetus to take pen to paper and write that new story down. So I'm wondering, what was 2010 to 2018 like for you in terms of your relationship to your material and physical being? Uranus is a very stubborn sign. Oh, nope. Taurus is a very stubborn sign. So that spark that was lit might have encountered some resistance, just because when you're taking energy into form, being into form, it's a little uncomfortable for the energy to meet the material boundary. But what happened for you in relation to your body and your dollar bills, or your euro, or your yen, I don't know, your money. What did that feel like, or what was the experience related to actually bettering or changing your material and bodily circumstance? And now, how does it feel to be like face back, smushed up against that mirror where you can't really see because you're so smushed up like this, I can't really see what I'm supposed to do, but what is the change? Where is the energy still moving? And boundaries. Big up on boundaries. How have those boundaries changed so that your home can contain the material and bodily wealth that you would like? How are you using boundaries to mindfully create the structure? Going back to that White House example, rules, laws, legislature, and this 3-part government that's supposed to be doing checks and balances. I mean, it was written to do checks and balances. I mean, if you don't follow the rules, you lose the structure. And for the greater good of all, that's not good. Power imbalances slide right in. So, check yourself, check your heart, check your mind. You're okay as you are. And as you continue to work with the energy, continue to establish safety, really, and stability, the good piece of the Taurian energy that we'd like to bring in. Stability in a restorative relationship, in a nurturing home, and an eye forward, an eye towards progress, and an acknowledgement that when we rip away current structures, old structures, when we rip away what is there now, we only change our relationship to how it got to be. So I'm feeling ancestral healing. So if you are working on your home and maybe your job situation, wherever you go to give your source, to source your needs, material and bodily wealth, acknowledge what you can do at this level. That might look like making a decision to be more autonomous, or to go off and do your own thing because you are confident in yourself and because you know you have a right relationship, a fair, non-grasping, non-stealing relationship with the role that you're in. I'll use myself as an example. After training and grad school, I opted to not pursue licensure as a counselor because I felt that system's fucking broken. Why am I going to get into this system where I might help a few people hand to mouth when I can know that I stand on my own integrity in my practice, in my supervision, in the colleagues that I have. And I know I'm not here just to make dollar bills. I'm here to serve. And I didn't feel that a license would support me in that. Now, does that make it challenging to build business? It's difficult to say, I'm kind of like a counselor, but don't call me a counselor. Sure. It has shown me that there is a wishy-washy lack around the culture of therapy in the United States. People don't know how to therapy unless you tell them exactly, go here, pay this, call your insurance. But okay, fine. You know why? Because that system is broken. There is no room for soul in it. It's just paper pushing. So I chose not. I ain't here to tear down the system. I ain't here to do anything but serve people for me. Not for me. That was weird. Can I edit this? I don't even bother with editing. One take wonder up in here, right? So, in your position of reflection, being with the energies of this week in particular, and the bigger questions around home, security, stability, resourcing, what is true for you? What is still a struggle? And where can you step into your own progress because you know your boundaries, because you know your worth, and because you know the system's fucked, but you still got to integrate within to it. So what does that look like for you? Big love, babes. Reach out. Let me know what's going on. And see you soon at Planet Dust.